All right, so next up we've got two more lightning talks. Nissa Rhee, Madison, Savedra, come on up. We are going to hear from them about After the Buses, a collaboration in Chicago.
Thank you, Stephanie. I'm Nissa Rhee, the executive director of Borderless Magazine, a multilingual nonprofit news outlet in Chicago that covers immigrants and immigration.
And my name is Madison Savedra. I'm a reporter with Black Club Chicago. We're a nonprofit news outlet that covers Chicago's many neighborhoods.
So last year, Borderless Magazine and Black Club Chicago spent over 3 months interviewing migrants in Spanish who had been sent to Chicago as part of Texas Governor Greg Abbott's political stunt. So the result of this work is our bilingual series, After the Buses. So before our project was published in December, all Chicagoans likely knew about this crisis is that in August, people started arriving in Chicago on buses. We did this project together because we wanted people to know what happened after that. Our goal was to humanize what has been a very dehumanizing situation, where people are more often talked about en masse rather than as individual humans who have made life-threatening journeys to get here. And we wanted to share how this unique collaboration worked and what we'd do differently if we did it again.
So in total, across our two organizations, 17 people worked on this project. So we wrote 9 articles featuring about a dozen people who had arrived to Chicago. We had 6 reporters, including myself, 2 of which were also photojournalists. And then an additional 2 photographers. We had a photo editor, 2 editors from Borderless Magazine, and 3 editors from Black Club Chicago, and then 3 engagement people who helped us out with newsletters and social media and our post-publication engagement. It started out as a very organic collaboration, I would say. For those who don't know too much about the context of this project, folks from Texas were being bused to Chicago, and you can see on this photo is a bunch of us reporters outside the bus station. So that's how this collaboration started. We and a bunch of other reporters were hanging out outside this bus station waiting for people to arrive, and we're working on the same project, essentially. So it kind of made sense to partner up and do something together. It was my editor who had the idea. We had a Zoom call with both our teams, and that was way back in early September, and it grew from there.
So Borderless and Black Club had worked together before, but never on something this big. So we occasionally republished each other's stories, and Borderless had run INN's story translation project. So if you were at CGS last year, I talked about that, which Black Club used to translate its stories into Spanish. But when Stephanie Lule, the editor at Black Club, suggested this partnership, we were really excited. So our news outlets are very different, but we knew our combined superpowers could make us a great team. Borderless has a niche in the Chicago news market. We have a lot of experience reporting on and with immigrants, and we understand how to interview people in vulnerable situations. We have check-ins built in throughout our story workflow to keep our sources and reporters safe. And we also had an existing network of sources we could tap and a pool of reporters and photojournalists who spoke Spanish we could work with. And finally, we publish everything in English and Spanish already, and we have a system in place for putting out high-quality Spanish stories quickly.
So I think it's safe to say that if, my outlet, Black Club Chicago, had tried to do a story like this alone, it would have taken us double the amount of time. And this was already a project that took us over 3 months. So it would have taken even longer, or it never would have happened. Like Borderless, Black Club also has a few Spanish-speaking reporters who really made it possible to report on a story like this. People, took time away from our daily news coverage, which is, a daily turnaround. Like, we had to kind of put that on pause to push this across the finish line over, several weeks and several months. We also have a bigger staff. We have multiple editors who were able to help shepherd this project along. And I also think one of our strengths is having dedicated engagement people. So we have a newsletter manager who really helped to create amazing newsletters that came out in the days and weeks following this project being published, as well as a social media editor who helped us make great graphics that, got people reading and talking about our story, across all social media platforms. And then lastly, working with Borderless made a lot of sense because, like Nissa mentioned, we have pretty distinct audiences. So we were able to just reach way more people than either of us could have alone, and help introduce readers who weren't familiar with our outlets, to our outlets. So having this partnership really helped keep us accountable, considering Black Club, like I mentioned, we're more of a daily news outlet. So having somebody to report to and check in with on a weekly basis was really crucial to keeping at it over, like I keep saying, weeks and months. It was my first time working on a project like this over a really long period of time, so it was helpful to have partners.
Knowing each other's superpowers made overcoming the challenges of this project easier, and boy, were there a lot of challenges. So here are 4 lessons I want to pass on to you from our project. So first, carefully choose the timing of your collaboration. So our biggest challenge was by far the timing. We had almost no notice that the buses were going to come in August, and when they kept coming in September, we decided to work on this project together, and we were determined to publish by early December to avoid the holiday craziness. And as you may know, the last few months of the year are really challenging at nonprofits. We had to balance this large project with year-end fundraising, people taking time off for the holidays. And we did the best with the cards we were dealt and did publish in early December. But if I could choose the timing, I would choose a less busy time of year. Second, my tip was start work on the publication rollout well in advance. So because of our timeline, we had to rush some of the pre-publication prep, like designing the series logo and websites, and some of the post-publication engagement. We had hoped other outlets would republish the series besides our own, but because it was the year end, everyone was just too busy to take that on. Third, have a separate budget for the collaboration. I think a lot of people have talked about fundraising today, or have an emergency pool you can tap into. We didn't have any funding for this work. We knew that the need for this reporting was now, and it was either start now or start never. And there wasn't time for us to wait a month or 6 months to get a grant to fund the reporting. We needed to serve our audiences today. So this meant, thank you. This meant that some of the reporting our newsrooms had planned for last year got pushed into this year. And we were all working long, long hours, nights and weekends to get this series across the finish line. I remember being on the phone with Stephanie Luley right before the night before it went out at like 2 a.m. doing last-minute copy editing. So it was really a work of love. Last one, be patient and talk it out. So working with a new newsroom means running into issues around workflows, writing styles, and more. But we really took the time to talk things out, outlining clearly the types of stories we wanted, including structure and length. We met weekly over video, and the reporters and photographers met occasionally at our Borderless co-working space. And whenever someone ran into difficulty, like learning their source was admitted to a hospital for a drug overdose, we problem solved and we came up with ideas for explainers and resources that we could provide to help the migrants before our series published. And these were all very traumatic stories to report on, and I was thankful we had each other to lean on and be in community with.
So I think it's safe to say that we enjoyed working with each other because we are working on yet another project. It's still in like the super early planning stages, but Nissa and I are working on a larger, more investigative story looking into the city's response to this crisis. So successful collaboration. And we really got such a great response from our readers and our sources after the buses that we just felt like the reporting had to continue. There were so many more stories to tell. So here's just a glimpse of what we heard from people, 3 different examples of impact, but then I also have some impact quotes from our sources themselves. So these are the folks who we met up with over weeks and months and really cultivated good relationships with. One said, "Friend, thank you very much. Excellent. It made me cry." Another, "Holy bleep. I'm so grateful for this. I'm looking at the story and I'm so thankful for this. And I'm very grateful that the photos are excellent too." So we really felt like this reporting built great rapport between us reporters and the growing immigrant community in Chicago. So that's all we have. Please feel free to come up to us if you have any questions. And our contact info is up on the slide via Twitter. And also be sure to check out our poster board outside. We spent a lot of time on it.
Yeah.